Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our session, which is called Inclusion in the Workplace. Let me welcome you as the CEO of Business Leaders Forum, the co-organizer of this session. And we are happy to co-organize it with our Portugal friends, the Grace Portugal. My name is Teresa Koucka, and I will be the moderator of this session. So, moving on to the agenda, let's see what you can look forward to. So at first, we will give you a little overview of the topic in both our countries, in the Czech Republic and Portugal. Me and Margarida Cuoto, the president of Grace, will each give you 5 minutes of overview. Then we will invite our guest speakers, the keynote speakers, that will tell you how they address this topic of inclusion in their companies. And hopefully we will see a lot of best practice. We will see how we can address the topic, and hopefully everyone can find something that they can use or adapt in their own businesses. Later on, we will move to the panel discussion, and we will invite 3 more guests from another 3 companies that I will introduce later on. And I'm happy to say that both our keynote speakers will stay here even for the panel discussion. So I would advise you to be active and really ask questions to get the ideas of what you can adapt, what you can implement specifically in your business. And later on, when we close up the panel discussion, we will have some conclusion, and we will give you some recommendations and some easy steps how you can address inclusion in your company. And hopefully we will also learn about the polls that we are going to put in the chat. So please be active and answer the polls, so that we have nice data that we can share at the end. So this is the agenda. Let me start with those overviews and give you some ideas of the topics that are very much connected with one another. And this is diversity and inclusion. And we have to really differentiate between those 2 topics. Diversity is how your team is diverse. It's creating more diverse teams, more perspectives together, no matter whether the differences are in nationality, gender, religion, social background. So this is diversity. Inclusion is something even higher. You go one step further. If you are inclusive as a company, it means that everyone in our team feels that they can bring their whole self to work. It means that they don't need to hide any part of their personality or their background. I very much like the description or a simple explanation that Verna Myers offers. She's an expert on inclusion and diversity and a business strategist. And the quote is, "Diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance." So this is pretty much what the difference between diversity and inclusion is. And today we will specifically focus on inclusion in the workplace. So it's very business-like oriented, and we will focus on inclusion of all kinds of minorities at work. Inclusion is a very relevant topic nowadays, and we can see that even the Sustainable Development Goals are mentioning inclusion. Goal 5, gender equality. Goal 8, decent work and economic growth. Or Goal 10, reduce inequality. So, and many surveys have proved that teams that are diverse and where really the inclusion works and the culture is open-minded have huge, much better productivity these factors have huge impact on the productivity of the team and on the ability to innovate. So this is why businesses should not disregard inclusion as a topic, and they should focus on creating strategies and supporting inclusion. So shortly about the situation here in the Czech Republic. Unfortunately, I have to say that we have the fifth biggest pay gap, gender pay gap within the European Union. It's 18.9%. It is even more in the capital of the Czech Republic, in Prague, when it increases to 22%. So this is the background concerning the, let's say, gender inclusion. About disabled people, there's the allowance for creating employment for disabled people. So this is something provided to the employers who create jobs for persons with disabilities, and it serves as a motivation and indirect support to increase the independence of disabled people. Also, we have companies that start reporting data on inclusion and diversity, mostly within their non-financial reports, but also we have some pioneer companies that have created their own independent reports concerning diversity and inclusion. And you can also find examples within the business of inclusive behavior in corporate job offers, the way they are written in corporate job benefits. And also there are many minorities, not just the ones that are mentioned. It's not just about gender, it's not just about disabled people. We have numerous Roman minority, we have socially disadvantaged people, we have the LGBTQ community, and many others. So this is the situation from the Czech Republic. Let's move on within the agenda. Let me introduce to you Margarida Quota, the president of GRACE Portugal, and she will give you the overview of the topic of inclusion in Portugal. So, Margarida, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Teresa. I hope that Teresa is well spelled, but maybe not. First of all, I would like to thank CSR Europe for this invitation to co-organize this panel with our dear Czech friends, the Business Leaders Forum, here represented by Teresa Kuska. I hope I said it. I said it right. I would also like to thank the associates of GRACE that have agreed to participate in this session. The topic of inclusion is, of course, a topic that is very high in the agenda of GRACE. GRACE being an association that represents more than 180 companies that have the responsible business at the heart of their concerns. And of course, inclusion is a topic that is becoming happily more important than ever. We start to feel in Portugal that companies start to look at this topic not as a check in the box exercise, but something that needs to really be built in within the strategy of the company and implemented in a consistent manner. And I'm sure that the examples of the Portuguese companies that are going to share with you their practice will in fact make evident that we are in fact progressing, but given the dimension of the problem, everything sometimes seems to be too slow, because inclusion is not only about integrating disabled people, even though disabled people needs to be a focus of inclusion in Portugal, namely because we have, I don't know if that's the same in Czech Republic, but in Portugal we have a quotas law. So companies have to integrate 1 or 2% of disabled people, depending on the size of the company. And of course, this is a challenge because to integrate in an inclusive way people with disabilities is certainly a challenge. But there's no point in recruiting disabled people without really include them. So this is the challenge. Grace has been trying very hard to help companies during this journey. We are very fortunate to have within our associates companies that have already made a very, very long way and that are very experienced and that are generous enough to share with all the other companies what works, what doesn't work. I mean, lessons learned, mistakes that they have made, and this is great. And Grace has published recently a guide for companies on how to recruit and integrate people with disabilities, because we understand it's a complex issue and companies need to be helped, and also a toolkit, which is a more practical tool to put in place, and we believe that progress will be made, because the situation it's not good at all. According to the most recent data, only 11% of unemployed disabled people really gets a job. And of course, I mean, if we want to be an inclusive society, we need to, as Teresa was saying, this is not only about disabled people. There's a lot of other vulnerable groups or minorities or whatever that we need to include. Including refugees. As we all know, this is a problem in Europe and in Portugal now, even more so with the Afghanistan situation. So it's very challenging, but I really hope that the fact that we will listen to testimonies of companies that are doing it on a daily basis and achieving very good results will be very inspiring, and that can help all the companies that are present in this webinar to move this subject forward within their organizations. So thank you very much. Teresa, the floor is back yours, or not the floor, the cloud, because I mean, we no longer have a floor. Unfortunately, I cannot stay very long, but you are in great hands, and Teresa will also be your moderator. Thank you so much, and I wish you all a very nice webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Margarida. Thank you for the very nice and warm welcome. And we will definitely have in mind all that you said about the situation in Portugal, and also about not being focused only on one group, but really consider there are many minorities that need to be addressed with this topic. Thank you very much. So moving on with our program, with our agenda. I would invite one of our guests, Inés de Sousa, the board member at Santander, Portugal, to present the point of view of her and her company about the inclusion and the procedures and practices that they have in place to really include all the minorities that are welcome in their business. So Inés, the cloud or the floor is yours.
Thank you, Teresa. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank Grace and the CSR Europe for this kind of invitation and the opportunity to share with you our journey at Santander, Portugal regarding inclusion. At Santander, we strongly believe that in order to be relevant in the market, we need to understand the world which we live, and for this we need to have diverse and inclusive teams that are the true reflection of our society and our clients. Diversity and inclusion are part of Santander's values. And in this presentation, I will focus on Santander experience and approach to inclusion. And to start decoding this theme, I would like to refer to a very well-known phrase of Peter Drucker that says that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And what I particularly like about this phrase is that I strongly believe that culture is the critical success factor for sustainable growth of every business, and inclusion and diversity are the pillars of our culture. We may have the best strategy, the best KPIs, the best brand, but the success of a company depends definitely on this culture. And this should be communicated through the entire organization and with which employees can feel proud of. I'd like now to talk about the two ways in which Santander has proceeded in this area of inclusion. The first of all, in our own organization, how the process went, how we leveraged, and what we learned about it, and what was wrong, or what we've learned about all the process. And secondly, how we contribute to have an inclusive society in general through education and employable perspective. Regarding inclusion in our organization, I'd like to tell you about our journey in including people with disability, whether mental or physical. We are an inclusive company and we are very proud of our journey. And this is not an easy journey. It has many challenges, and you need to build a strong foundation base where people are willing and believe that this is the right and the only way. The impact that we have had was not only in the person we hire and their family, but it's also in our bank's employees, our culture, and the feedback that we have received from our customer. We have started inclusion recruitment at Santander some years ago with a young employee with Down syndrome. And from the very beginning, Rafael brought people together, their family and the various teams involved, human resources, manager, teams, had prior preparation and well-training and guided sections so that the process would run smoothly and naturally. And the impact in this daily professional life has a very significant effect on Rafael's development. It provided a routine, an income, and with this, better living standard and financial independence. But we wanted to take another step further along this path and decided to look at the neurodiversity in general. And it all began when I asked APSA, Asperger's Syndrome Portuguese Association, to come to the bank and to make a presentation about Asperger's syndrome. And I invited senior and top managers to learn about this disorder and how people interact in society. By the end of the meeting, we have decided we are going to hire 2 people and arrange a job function that will adapt to the diverse range of skills that they had to offer. And I personally interviewed the 2 candidates and we decided to move forward. I had no idea how it was going to go and how the team would react, but we decided to move forward. And we counted on the association's unconditional support. We trained people and we had a daily follow-up with the team and with Pedro and Fabio. We perceive a very positive attitude among colleagues with higher employee engagement, more teamwork, and a strong connection were built. It's amazing how it has changed their lives, not just at work, but at home and in the social environment. Today, we also have with us several people with physical disabilities. And I give the example of Patricia, who has very limited mobility. Her energy, her capabilities, skills, and her culture of putting the customer first made our decision to hire a natural one. And it's been an incredible experience. Being an inclusive company, it's a journey and a learning process. And many of us, and I speak for myself, think we are prepared, but this is not the case. And I can give you an example. One day I invited Patricia to have lunch with me, and it hadn't occurred to me that I had to be the one to feed her. I didn't know what to do. And Patricia just told me, Inês, you just need to feed me. That's all, it's simple. So this is lots of obstacles that we think we are prepared, but when we come to reality, this is not the case. And this is what was definitely a turning point at Santander, in the beginning, Patricia's parents would come to the bank to give her lunch. Now, she always had someone willing to go to lunch with her. It's amazing, and it's no longer a concern with us. It's being a very remarkable change in our employees' behavior. The change in our employees' behavior has been remarkable, and today people are much more attentive to others, and not only to people with disability. And they all make a difference in our organization. They really bring a different point of view, a new perspective, and they can create better solutions to business challenges. And problems seem to become more relative, besides boosting collaboration. But inclusion, as Teresa just told us, is not just about people with disability. Inclusion, it's done on a daily basis, creating respectful interactions among all colleagues. We value and encourage everyone to contribute and give their opinion in all matters. We foster the speak-up culture, which allows everybody to express their view and their opinions. And I think there are 4 main principal characteristics in an inclusive company. First, the board and the CEO willingness and involvement. It's very important to have the highest level of the organization. Second, we need to have discipline, creativity, and resilience. Third one, we have to prepare the team members, and we have to have a great proximity to specialized organization and institution that support these employees. And the fourth one, we have to give constant feedback to the teams and to the colleagues. In conclusion, in the inclusive process, we must prepare the company as a whole, disseminating the vision, the values, the advantages and the methodology, and training the people and the teams in a manner and giving consistent feedback. But we have decided to take every opportunity to gain knowledge, and we approach schools, supporting institutions, and inclusive companies in search for support and experience best practice. And this is where it comes the second field of action of Santander: contribute to an inclusive society in general. And this experience in our organization was at most importance to understand how the inclusion process works, a strong stimulus for us to want to go even further and incorporate this added value in our social responsibility. And we basically focus on 2 pillars: education and employability. In education, we support educational programs directly in schools and higher education institutions, which reinforce the students' education and academic success, as well as critical skills in today's job markets. And education should begin at the very early stage, raising awareness and prepare the younger generation for a future normality with and without disability. But in addition to these programs focused on the individuals, we also support programs aimed at companies. And for that, we rely on support of our partners, such as university, the ECF, Inclusive Community Forum at Northern School Business School, or the Salvador Association, that have helped us and with whom we have participated in actions and several initiatives to make the society more inclusive. I'd like to end by reinforcing once again that inclusion is a strategic lever of our culture, and employees are the critical success factor for sustainable growth. Let's make a difference and leave our mark on society, on people and family. And once again, I'd like to remind you the sentence where I started with: culture, it's strategy for breakfast. Thank you again to Grace and CSR for this invitation, and I'm here to answer any question you have. Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you, Ines. Thank you for your presentation and everything that you mentioned that your company does to really welcome everyone. I was very moved by your lunch story, I have to say. That's perfect that every time somebody helps with the lunch. And it's actually a good example of inclusion, a specific one. But there was very much more in your speech that we can address, or we can aim questions to. I have the first question because you've mentioned that you've been on the journey for over 10 years. When you started to put in place the recruitment procedures that were inclusive and start with the training of the recruiters and managers and the team. So what is it that you are particularly proud of if you look over to all those 10 years of your journey?
Well, I'm very proud of the recognition and the feedback that I received from the employees and from our customer of what we do to have the impact in the society. I think this is the most important. Being recognized by our employees, change their behaviors, and being recognized by the society and our customers that we do and really care about the society and being an inclusive company. I think it's the best we can have with these initiatives.
Okay, thank you. Yes, the feedback is always important, and you've mentioned that in your speech that you do it repeatedly to make sure that it still is an inclusive culture in your company. We have also one question from the audience. I will read it to you, and please let's provide us with a short answer so that we can move on with the agenda. So the question is, how can we speak of inclusion knowing that there are different cultures which become great barriers and slow down development in the world?
Well, as I mentioned, we have to boost we have to speak up, and we have to make sure that we have the same the environment that allows everyone to speak up, to give their opinions, and even in the recruitment training programs and whatever you do, we really don't discriminate anyone from the race, from gender, from education, from the LGBT community. So it's something that we think, as I told in the presentation, the critical is for an organization to start at the higher level. This is just something that, do you want to be an inclusive company? Yes. So let's do it. There are lots of obstacles that we are going to deal with. As I told you, there's lots of difficulties that we have, but I think if we really want this, it will be easier. And it should be at the highest levels. And everyone, no matter what the background and the race and the gender, as I said, everyone should be included and should have a talent program, and like everyone, no discrimination for whatever reasons. So this is our culture, and I think with our example, and I speak to lots of companies to give my example of the example of Santander. What should they do to be more inclusive companies? So I think it's a process. It's a long way that we have to do, for sure. But I really believe that we are in the right place, and we're in the right place.
Thank you. Thank you. It feels that it's a passionate topic for you. It feels that really you have inclusion close at heart. Thank you for the answer. I can see that no barriers or slowing down of development can prevent Ines from really taking action and really embracing inclusivity and inclusion in Santander. Thank you very much. I'm happy that Ines will stay with us for the panel discussion. So should we have any more questions for Ines, please use the time dedicated to panel discussion. And moving on, I would like to introduce our second guest, who is from the Czech Republic, Daniela Hrbková, the head of People Operation Czech Republic at Tesco. So Daniela, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you, Terko. Hello, everybody. It's really a pleasure, as Ines said, to be there and to share with you like our story and our journey. Firstly, I would like to avoid those nice big corporate sentences, because on the paper you can You can have anything, but it's important what is the colleagues' feedback. Yeah, I think I would like to be practical in this session, in this presentation. And of course, if you will have any question, just let me know. I can't see the presentation now still, but I will start. I don't know if others can see it.
Yes, the presentation is on.
Okay. So, and is it the page 2? Because I can't really see it, guys. So is it like you can see the numbers now?
It's the first page. You can see it in OS1 live window.
Which windows? Sorry for...
The windows that are all, you can see all the speakers and the windows above your image.
Yes.
OS number 1 live, and then you can see your presentation.
Now I can see it's small, but I can see. Sorry for my mistake in the beginning. Okay. So firstly, we can go for next page. So I would like to really introduce you like Tesco in Czech Republic. You can see here some numbers. I think it's good to like for setting up the context what we are doing. So you can see that we are just nearly we have 10,000 colleagues. We have mainly women in the business, 75%, 25% men. We have in Czech Republic 33 different nationalities. What is important number for us that we have 54% of our colleagues, they are carers, which is really important for us. And also we have 3.8 colleagues with change work capacities. So that's how we have it in Tesco Czech Republic. Of course, in Tesco UK, in Tesco Slovak, Hungary, the situation is a little bit different. So for the context, that's the introduction of Tesco Czech. If we can move on. Great, thank you. So today I will talk mainly about, like, let's say 3 main things which we did. So what was our way to inclusion? Then the second part will be our unique family policies. And the third part will be about our inclusion report, which we introduced this year. So if we can move to the next slide, please. So what was our journey? And we are still on the journey. And I'm saying we are still in the beginning, yeah, because this is really long run. So in 2019, we worked with the Green Park, is a UK company, specialist inclusion diversity consultancy, to get really like independent review of our people policies, processes, and practices to improve colleagues' experience. And the review identified really the opportunities to create more inclusivity across our family leave policies, because you can see that we are like a women business. 75% of women we have. So this was really like opportunity for us. The second thing which I want to mention or point out on our journey is Learning and Diversity Festival. In 2020, we started with this festival. It's always like 2 weeks, twice a year, and it's full of really interesting webinars. It's online. It's led by well-known personalities in Czech, but it's also led by our colleagues in Tesco if they want to share some stories, because I think inclusion is about storytelling. I think this is the authenticity, and the storytelling is really crucial. And our colleagues can be really inspired by, I don't know, young YouTuber or somebody who is over 60, but he has really interesting story behind him, or her, and many others. But I would like to, as Ines share like really nice story, I would like to share one story. I would be sure, I promise. What was last year really powerful, when one our directors in Czech Republic, just she did the coming out on this webinar, and nobody knows in the company. She has a girlfriend, and it was so powerful that she was really within 2 hours just speaking about how she feels, how, which relationship she has with the parents, because of what she announced to them, and many like really feelings. It was so powerful for the whole company. That why I'm sharing that if you will be here in Tesco in Czech, um, and you will ask somebody, everybody will remember that. Yeah. And I think this is the way, this storytelling, how we can, let's say, how we can learn, how we can get the information, because sometimes we are blind and we don't have any friends like that. And we can then respect each other. Yeah. So, and she helped many of other colleagues around her in the company, because she offered to help them if they have any questions, if they, I think this is one of the story which I will remember probably till the end of my life. The third one, it's quite interesting. We have annual research. It's anonymous, of course. We are doing that for ages, to be honest. It's research from our colleagues, how they feel. And we added this year to this annual colleagues research diversity demographic questions, to really understand how our colleagues feels. And the whole research, as I said, is anonymous and it's voluntary to answer those questions, of course. We are asking for age, gender, tenure, ethnicity, sexual orientation, caring responsibilities, and some others. And it's great to see that people were willing to say, and you can see really some correlation between, if I have some sexual orientation, if I feel the same or different to those who are heterosexual, for example. So I think we will continue with that. I will be honest, it was a little bit painful because we received also negative feedback from our colleagues why we are asking. So that's one of the challenge we receive as well. But I still believe it's voluntary, and I still believe it's about like explaining why we need that, why why we want to set up the context for the colleagues. I think it's really important in terms of that. But it was a little bit of challenge for us as well. If we can move on. Yeah, I would like to share what we did in terms of the family policies. As I said, we our business, there is 75% of women. So um, we launched new family policies. Just shortly, it's like about maternity leave, that we enhance maternity leave pay for mothers, so they receive full pay for 28 weeks of their maternity leave, which is really unique on the Czech market. And I know that in other countries the legislation is different, but it's in Czech it's 6 months, 28 weeks. Then adoption leave. So for those families who adopt children, we enhance maternity leave pay for mothers in line with the maternity policy. So if the parent is no longer eligible for maternity or parental leave because the children is older, our policy offers 8 weeks off. It's paid. Then we have paternity leave. So in Czech, you can have like 1 week. So we are offering more weeks. We are offering now 2 weeks. and I think there is a space to have more in the future. We have the fertility support, so for colleagues who are undergoing fertility treatment, so we will offer 1 paid week off for each cycle, and we have foster care leave, and we have many more. So I can't list it all of them, but this is something which we are really proud of that we introduced this year, to be honest. And the last one, or the middle one, let's say, of course, we are saying that it's not only for parents like mom and dad, but we have also 2 moms, we have almost also 2 dads. So of course, all those policies are, of course, for everybody in the company, not only for moms or dads. Yeah, so also for pairs which are same gender. The last one is, I think this is really challenging topic, as Terka said in the beginning in Czech Republic. So many people are unemployed, which have like the change work capacities. And I think what we would like to, and it will be definitely our topic for the future. In terms of the policy, what we've set up, that uh, if they are like returning to work after long-term leave, can be really like a challenge for our colleagues. So physically and mentally, to be honest. So we offer like a phased return to work for anyone who is returning from sick leave, which is like longer than 4 months. And this means that the colleague will work only half of their contracted working hours, but we will pay full. And it will depend on them really if they will choose to work first 2 weeks or the last 2 weeks. So it's up to them to decide how they will split it. So we are trying to help them. Just we won't get back them, to be honest. So that's something what we set up this year as well. If we can move on. Thank you. So we are starting to see some changes based on everything what I said, and the journey was, like, as I said, longer. So we decided that we feel that now is the right time to share our progress. So that's why we are really proud that we published the first DI report, really, as Terka said. Um, Everyone welcome. That's the name of the report, because that's how that's one of the, let's say, the value we have. And um, we would like to share the plans to increase like representation of women at senior levels, become even more family friendly. That's why we did everything what we did this year in terms of the family policies, supporting individual with change work capacity to thrive in our business. And we also shared our demographic data and gender pay position. And we believe that it will help us to measure our ongoing process in terms of inclusion and diversity. We are also really glad that I think it's, and we are saying to all the other companies in Czech, please just come with us and just show like the data and the report similar like we did, because it will help not only like to Tesco, but I think the whole market will be in better position if we will be sharing those things and those plans and data. So what is, just shortly, what is in the report? It's the first one, as I mentioned, the change work capacities. Um, it's important for us. I think there is a potential on the market, definitely. We are aware that not all roles are suitable really for the retail company, of course, but we are also colleagues on the shop floor with Down syndrome, and we have assistants for them. So I think sometimes if there is a will, it's you can make it. Yeah, not in all cases, that's true, but you can make it. So what we are offering them is really like temporary assignments to a different workplace or changing contracted hours per week, providing more frequent breaks, flexibility during the schedules, and I think what is important that we would like to really introduce the workplace adjustment policy, so that the line manager can better support the colleagues with change work capacities. In what is like the second thing, what is in the report, there are much more things, but I put only those three, which I wanted to point out, is gender pay gap and everything around the fair remuneration. And we have the gap. We are saying officially, honestly, we have the gap, and we want to do something about that. Yeah. And the third one, because I'm too long, probably, I'm seeing Teresa. So the third one, I think it's the same what Ines said. Yeah. So what is important to really talk to people, this speak up to culture, and I think it's good to start with our managers and leaders, definitely. So what we did in Tesco, so all directors completed the DI masterclass. We are using human library, and all the managers, I think they should be the role models, definitely. So if the managers are not supporting this change of the culture, you will never like be successful. That's the main thing. So we will really continue um, to use like those webinars, everything what we can, like all channels, to give our colleagues different perspective, and just they can learn, and they can learn about like other colleagues, and this is, I think, the important thing. I can talk and talk more, but I think I'm too long, Perko.
Thank you, Daniela, for the story of your journey, of Tesco journey concerning inclusion and diversity. Again, there were things that you've mentioned that were very moving or emotional. I can imagine it could be a really emotional time for one of the board members to share her story, or like during her coming out during the festival. We have one question from the audience, but before I ask you, Daniela, I have to say that I'm particularly proud of Tesco here in the Czech Republic to be really the pioneer to have an independent D&I report. And I remember your colleague, Jan Kondáš, who spoke to me at our meeting a year and a half ago about your willingness to share those data and about what's going to be prepared. So I'm really happy that this was really a goal that really that was met, and that you achieved to be the pioneer to present the first report. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And the questions from the audience is, could you share a situation that did not go as expected?
There are many, to be honest, because on your way you are meeting different people, yeah. And I think this culture, it can't be pushed. So of course I met colleagues, and they told me like, and I will not use the words because they are not nice. Why you want to know what is my sexual orientation? Just, are you crazy? I'm now really polite, yeah. So I think this moment was really challenging for some colleagues. And of course, sometimes you are meeting colleagues and they are saying, I don't like gays, and just it's my opinion, and you will not change it. Yeah. And um, I'm always saying I'm not going to, it's like a discussion. If you want to answer discussion, you are really welcome. If you want to learn, if you want to learn about your colleagues uh, who are gays, we are open. But of course, it's sometimes challenging because in Czech, if you have 10,000 colleagues, and we have shops from west to east, and you have different regions, I think it will be same all around the world. So it's not the same in Prague, and it's not the same in South Moravia. So it's challenging also like in the regions, if it is like the border with the Poland, or if it is the border with the Germany. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's challenging, and we don't want to push. I think you can't push this culture.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniela, for answering the questions. I'm also happy to say that Daniela is staying with us for the panel discussion. So should you have any other question on Daniela, please ask in the chat and we will read it. So these two were our keynote speeches today, and we'll be moving on to the panel discussion. So the next slide, please, where I can introduce you our three more guests in the panel discussion. It's going to be Mariana Ribeiro, the Corporate Social Responsibility and Sustainability Manager at CUF. Then we welcome Miguel Ribeiro, Sustainability and CSR Manager, Inclusion and Diversity at El Corte Inglés, Portugal. And also we were welcoming Vera Babisheva, the Executive Director at AGIGA. So these are our panelists, and also we still have Daniela Hrbkova from Tesco and Ines Omde Sousa from Santander to answer your questions. Before we start with the panel discussion, I will ask those three new guests, Mariana, Miguel, and Vera, to introduce their company background concerning inclusion. And so each please use 1 or 2 minutes to really introduce the background and your point of view. And then I would kindly ask all the viewers, all the participants of the session to ask questions so that we have the lively discussion we are hoping to have. Also, please be advised that there are polls in the chat. So we will be happy if you could really act on those polls so that we have interesting data that we can share at the end of our session. So please, the floor is Mariana's. Could you introduce yourself and your company's point of view on inclusion, please?
Hello, thank you so much for the invitation of CSR and for Grace, and thank you for the inspiring speeches that we have just heard, especially from Ines and Daniela, which were really touching and special. And it feels that we don't have any more to say because they said it all. And so many good examples we have just heard. But I would say that because it's also important to claim that CUF has a really active role in promotion more inclusive community and society. And we do that through many initiatives and many focused and strategic pillars. And for example, I would say that CUF is among the 24 Portuguese companies that have signed the commitment of the Inclusive Community Forum that actually Ines has also recalled. And this forum is very relevant because it's promoting employability of people with disabilities, which is very important in Portugal for what Margarida has already said regarding the opportunities that they have in employment issues. Also, we have co-produced the toolkit of GRACE on the integration and recruitment of people with disabilities, and this is also very relevant, I think. And regarding our more broad strategic regarding inclusion, I would say that we are very focused on the SDG 17 because actually the inclusion is a broader concept, right? We don't have only related relations to disabilities or whatever. We have all the most vulnerable people who are also and need to be included in these inclusion path and inclusion goals of any company. And we are working a lot in training. And these trainings that we are developing to create a more D&I culture among CUF, they are developed with the help of entities which are expert in inclusion of people with disabilities or people with another kind of vulnerable situation, which is very, very important. Another aspect that I would like to address regarding this issue is our flexibility in working patterns, which is ensuring employees a life-work balance. And this is, of course, also working on reducing the gender-related issues and namely pay gap. So I really think that to become an inclusive company, especially in CUF with 8,000 employees, we need to understand that inclusion will lead us and guide us to a greater equality of opportunities, and this will be a greater outcome and the best outcome that we really need. So I will leave the floor to another colleague.
Thank you, Mariana, to share the basic overview. So you're encouraged all to share your questions for Mariana. And now, please, Miguel Ribeiro, could you give us your brief description of what your company, El Corte Inglés Portugal, does to be more inclusive?
Okay, I will be very brief. So El Corte Inglés it's a retailer. It's a Spanish company. We are in the Spanish market, but at 20 years we came from the Portuguese market, which is different as well in inclusion, and we work the responsible consumption and production. But what is have with this subject? When we started at 20 years ago in Portugal, we didn't think too much about this subject. We opened a business with 3,000 employees, and we have to open the doors of our shops and in the same day, and we need a lot of employees, and some employees need some professional skills, and some skills, for example, carpenters, and we didn't have enough carpenters in that moment. So we found a school of carpenters, but they have deaf students as well. So we hire 20 years ago our first deaf colleague. And it was okay, the experience. But after that, we repeat, and the experience didn't go so well. So we didn't give up, and that's the message that I like to to give. We didn't give up, and we, because it's a person like all candidates, and the most important, it's what the person can do, and this is the what we focus. And we are talking about disability as well, but we can speak in age. For example, persons with more age, it's more complicated in the Portuguese market. We work with ONGs, with municipality projects to try to integrate them in the company. And I start to implement this project in the company. Today I'm a sustainability manager, and we put the inclusion in all business. For example, we encourage suppliers and producers to create products and products that are made for communities that we support, and as well the customers experience accessibility to our shops. But it was not perfect, our journey. Sometimes in the beginning we have discussions with some colleagues, because they receive complaints from the clients. For example, I remember a particular situation that we hired African descendants in some supermarket, and we have a lot of them, and we didn't count them, like and some customers started to complain to the manager, and the manager came to, in that time I was in HR, and start to complain to me, and it was a very discomfortable situation, and of course with time we work in the company that situation. We give workshops, the onboarding process now we give information about that situation, and inclusion now it's in in our culture, and we don't have information in our colleagues that the person is deaf, or we don't have signs, and the clients don't complain so much. We didn't make publicity about the situation, and our experience now, it's like a normal situation. Of course, we have to improve in some aspects. For example, in gender, we like in Czech Republic, we still have to make improvements. But this is our experience, and I don't want to take more time, because we don't have so much time.
Thank you, Miguel, for describing what your company does, and also describing not just the easy part and the quick wins, but also focusing on the long-term journey, and showing that never give up is the right attitude concerning the focus on diversity and inclusion. Thank you very much. Also, one thing that I'm glad that you mentioned is it's not just about the culture within the businesses, but we might be needed to overcome obstacles that are outside of our companies, that come from our clients, from our customers. And this is also a topic that inclusion should address when we are talking about the strategies of the businesses, and inclusion being part of the strategies. So thank you very much. Now I would like to give the floor to Vera Babisheva from AGIGA. Vera, could you tell us something about inclusion in your company, or let's say the inclusion of your project, because I know that your business is pretty much wrapped around inclusion of one of the minorities.
So, hello everyone. Thank you very much for your invitation to this very interesting afternoon. And in the beginning, I would like to introduce our company because it's not so huge as, for instance, Tesco or Corte Inglés. We are not such a big company, and our company operates on Czech market as a partner in business process outsourcing of big companies in telecommunications and energy suppliers. And we have our contact centers. And we do, first of all, new acquisition, lead generation, but also customer care services. And what is different from all of your inclusion experiences? So we have special social background. We are treated socially excluded people in that way that we have established about 11 years ago call center in prison. So we have about 11-year experience, and that time our team member who works as therapist in one of the Czech prison in the middle of Bohemia used to meet repeated questions of the prisoners that they have long sentences and they would like to earn more money. So we have started to establish a call center directly in the prison. The first one 11 years ago, and now we have two. Altogether, they have more than 100 seats. So we employ more than 100 prisoners. In the beginning, all this working of the prisoners went through several stages. We developed special retraining program for prisoners as for call center operators, and then supporting motivation program. And what's very important for the inclusion, because working that's the first stage of their resocialization. We found out that prisoners after release from prison have mostly no financial resources, no employment. There are no family or no place of living. They are mostly heavily indebted. Then they don't have experiences with usual life situation, and they do not have friends, and they are drugs addicts. So we developed special. We try to reach comprehensive approach to this excluded society, socially excluded society. In order to help them to come to the normal life. And so we start already in prison with support of mentors who get ready them for basic steps after the prison release. And this special program which we have created is so-called accompanying service, because a lot of the prisoners after release from the prison, they start to work in civil call centers, also in our company. And we go on with them to get them back to the normal life. So they have mentors again in order to start the life outside of prison. And this is really not easy because there are many boundaries between the prison system and the social system in Czech Republic. And because they are covered by different ministries, and the prison system doesn't have the instruments to influence the life of released ex-offenders very effectively. So that's why we have in there 214 and 16. We were supported as a social innovation program by social innovation call of Ministry of Labor through European Social Fund. This project were to prove the impact of this our comprehensive approach to decrease reoffending rate, which is in Czech Republic very high, much more higher than its European average. We have more than 60%. And we have measured, of course, and according to our measurement, this our so-called target group, we can say, has 1/2 of reoffending rate as normal offending population, let's say. So that's why we have also awarded 6 years ago or 5 years ago by a special prize of social innovation, which is called Social Merits Austrian Prize. And now we go on and we try to develop a new part of our accompanying service for these people. A lot of them with whom we have started this 11 years ago and works till now in our companies. A lot of them moved to another jobs, but we helped them to also to create a completely new life. Most of them got married, have children, and they live with the major population without debts, without drug addictions, and are happy. But there is still a lot of work to go on because it's really not so easy. And this kind of people get back. And I have to, maybe I have forgotten to say that we are mostly focused on or very long sentences and on reoffenders. Because these people, they have very complicated journey to get back to normal life and to be included. So that's our story. If you want to hear some details from my side, so maybe I can answer you. So I'll try to do it. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Vera, for sharing the story of your business, which is practically, as I said, wrapped around the social problem in the country and addressing the need of addressing this problem. Thank you very much. We have a comment from the audience. Inclusion in the workplace can be one of the ways to improve company development and profitability. Yes, I definitely agree. Maybe we can ask our panelists what you think about that. And also I would add one more question from the audience. What are the main challenges that your companies are facing in the attraction and retention of ethnic diverse talents? Are you implementing any action to tackle those challenges, or are you willing to do so in the future? So if you could each one of you give us a short answer on that. What do you do to attract and retain the ethnic diverse talents? So we can start again with Mariana.
Yeah, hello. Thank you so much. I think both, first the comment and then the questions are both very interesting. The comment is in my opinion, is totally correct. And it's funny that in the few months ago, I think it's really recent, there is a study from McKinsey Global Institute that proves that, for example, inclusion regarding gender equality improves the global economy in 2025 in a very significant way. So it's more than proven that it's inclusion it's a driver also for economic growth and economic development. So first the comments, I would say that. And regarding the question, I would say that KUF has still a path to address this kind of issues. And actually, I don't recall a specific program or initiative in this field that you mentioned. But I would say that as an advice or a suggestion that we are actually developing in other sectors and other situations is that you need to make partnerships with entities who are able to address and help you to include these kind of issues in your company. So if you don't have the recipe, you need to find who has it, and I think that's the best way, and to put in practice the SDG 17, developing partnerships in order to achieve the goals of development.
Thank you, Mariana. Thank you. Yes, definitely. You're mentioning the specific goal that we can focus on, and it's very important that we understood what is in there and what actions we can take. Miguel, can we see your point of view?
Yeah. My point of view, it's easy to explain. This is a beer. Okay, it's a Portuguese beer, not Czech beer. And why I'm talking about this beer? Because this beer is inclusion. It's only possible because the company work inclusion and in our colleagues, but as well in our business. This beer it's made by bread because we have supermarkets and sometimes we have more bread that we need. Of course, we can reduce bread as well. We work in that, but my colleagues, when we create this, they said, okay, we just do bread from beer. It's a great product, but as well we can support this beer. We can support some project from inclusion, and they create a product and for that it's not in the market yet. It will be sooner, but that is just an example that a team who are used to work inclusion have good ideas and can think different. And it's just a joke about the beer. It's a real product, but all companies think like that. Of course, this is not perfect. It's not everybody think like that, but these teams only could have these ideas because at many years we started to do inclusion. If we didn't have this experience, maybe we have different ideas, maybe not so good. We don't know.
Thank you, Miguel. So this adds up to the claim that we have that inclusion improves company development. So it encourages innovations like that. It was a very nice example. As a Czech woman, I appreciate that you chose this example. Thank you very much. Vera, what about your point of view? The attraction of ethnic diverse talents. Do you have different ethnicities at all within your project, within your call centers? I will kindly ask you to unmute yourself.
Sorry, can you hear me? So, frankly speaking, we are not so much oriented for ethnic different people. So we have our special target group, which is others oriented. So I don't have such experience.
Okay, and do you agree with the claim that inclusion in the workplace can be one of the ways to improve company development? And
yeah, absolutely. And frankly speaking, in the beginning of this story, were sustaining of the company and optimizing of the cost of the working power. But it has completely changed within these years because we found out, or we found this personal approach. Finally, we can, when we combine both business and social point of view of our business, so we can achieve better results. So we solve both problems, social and business too. So I agree 100% that it's very close, this connection of inclusion and also of success of the company.
Thank you, Vera. Thank you for your point of view. Moving on to another question. because we are running towards the end of our session, I would like you all to have one recommendation for the companies that want to be inclusive. What would you recommend? Maybe they're at the beginning of the journey, or maybe they have already done some things, implemented some procedures. So what is the one thing that you would definitely want them to know concerning that you are already experienced with implementing inclusion at your companies? So could you start with Mariana again, and I will later on ask also Daniela and Ines. Don't forget, you are also here.
Thank you. Well, it's difficult to find only one advice. So I will, if you allow me, I will give two advices. The first one is not to focus on quotas. Margarida in the beginning said that we, for example, in Portugal, and I believe that it happens in many countries, we have quotas that requires the companies to hire a certain percentage of people with disabilities. And I think that if you only focus on that, you will not manage to include people with disabilities or people with a certain vulnerability. So I think you need to define your inclusion policy, and this must happen with your CEO and board involvement, and then involve all departments and teams to participate in the D&I process, because you should keep in mind that inclusion is not only a matter of HR or sustainability departments. It's a question of a company as a whole. So if you want to be inclusive, you really need to involve everybody. And the second advice, I'm sorry, I'm going to run. It's that you should include inclusion-related risks in your risk management in order to address risks and also create a healthy and inclusive working environment in your company.
Thank you, Mariana. Of course, you are allowed 2 points. Thank you very much. Miguel, can you give us your recommendation, please?
My recommendation, I agree totally with Mariana, and I like to tell that sometimes you don't need to wait for be a specialist in inclusion to start. You know, some companies already should start and learn with ONGs, with another companies or proceeds already. They talk about Grace have a toolkit about inclusion in for disability, but just start and do all the of course, if it's in the board, it's more simple, but maybe it's a small company and don't have a board, have the own member and the owner, but it's possible to work inclusion in a small company, different than in a big company, but the most important is you have a good intention, so you can start, and there is a lot of support today, a lot of experience, good experience, bad experience that you can learn, and nobody can stop you to start.
Thank you, Miguel. This is true, and I would also add your don't give up if the journey is not smooth. Thank you very much. Vera, what would you recommend? We can't hear you.
Yeah, okay. Well, so I think that the most important thing for this kind of inclusion which we are doing is, or maybe for every inclusion, is to create proper team, proper culture and climate within the company. Our employees in small call centers don't have any prejudices. to the employees which are coming from the prison. So from the beginning, they understand their situation, and they help them with first steps to go for shopping, to how to spend how to spend time after the work. So, but it takes certain time, but it helps us very much, and everyone new who will come to our company needs certain time to be involved, but I think that's this culture in the company is very important.
Thank you, Vera. Yes, we are mentioning it and again. The company culture needs to be inclusive, so that we can adapt even the other inclusive and diversity procedures. Thank you very much. I would like to ask Daniela for one recommendation for a company to become inclusive.
I will use my experience from like big company. So sometimes big companies, big corporates thinks that if they will have all those values on the paper, and they have like money they can invest to have all those processes, procedures, they really don't, they shouldn't forget that it's about for all colleagues, it's about daily small things they are just enjoying or not enjoying. For me, after one focus group we had, the one mom, which is single mom, came to me and she said, you know what is different when I'm leaving the office at 3 because I have to go to the kindergarten for my son because I'm a single mother. Nobody's joking about that I'm doing only half shift. So like this is for me the important things. So big companies they should think in this way. We have each day, all of us, small things which make the culture around us.
Thank you, Daniela. This is a very nice reminder of that fact that we don't need to take large steps or big actions. It's the daily routine, the small steps that can move us towards a more inclusive environment and culture. Thank you. What about Ines? Ines, do we have you here still? And what is your one recommendation?
I just have one. Don't be afraid. Involve everybody. Prepare the teams, and it's very important to the employees to be proud of the company. And this is the only and the right way. So there will be some difficulties, and people are not prepared for that. But everything will be overcome. And don't be afraid. If you give me a call.
Thank you very much, and for offering a helping hand for everyone. Okay, I think we are running out of time. Thank you for all your questions and for all your answers. To share the survey or the outcome of the survey, it's 50-50 for the question that we asked, which was if you have some inclusive procedures in place within your company, and it's 50-50. So we can see that there is still space where we can grow and develop concerning this topic. To share 9 simple steps for each company to become more inclusive. I will just provide you with the steps, and you also know what is underneath each step because many of our speakers have mentioned it. First, it's inclusion, then diversity, because otherwise the diverse talent won't stay within your company. So first, the culture. Then second step, prepare for a change, get yourself informed, seek for help. Then third step, get your bosses on board. Like in any strategy, it cannot work without your bosses being on board. And I really appreciated that you shared the DA9 training or the presentation that you provided your bosses with. Fourth steps, involve your team. Everyone needs to be on board. Fifth step, send out a diversity and inclusion survey, which we heard a lot of concerning our keynote speakers or specifically Daniela. Then sixth step, define biggest pain points of your company regarding inclusion, because you cannot fix what you don't know. And then as a seventh step, fix the quick wins and then come up with a solution for the long-term plan for the rest. So usually experts say you can fix the quick wins, pick 3 of them, and you can create 2 or 3 projects that are for long-term strategy. And of course, do an anonymous survey once in a while so that you check all the steps taken and that you know what is the culture like at the current time, in the current time. And I would add ninth step, which is don't give up. As Miguel said, sometimes the journey gets complicated and you've all mentioned a lot of obstacles in a way. So let's encourage one another that we are really not giving up on inclusion in the workplace. So that was all for today. Thank you all for coming and sharing the best practice with us. And thank you to all the keynote speakers, to all the panelists. Thanks belongs also to CSR Europe for letting us organize this roundtable. And thank you for Grace, Portugal, and Tanya specifically for sharing all those informations, providing us with your questions and feedback. It was a great day today. I found out a lot that I would like to implement and advise our members as a Business Leaders Forum to implement. So in chat, you will find our contacts in case you would like to reach out and cooperate on something that is focused on inclusion or diversity. Thank you for today and have a nice rest of the summit. Goodbye.